Kids, morning. I'm still streaming with cold, but I feel like I'm through the worst and starting to come out the other side of it now, but a bit headachy and stuff. But I've got an opponent called Felix Siles from Bolivia, and we have a d4. Now, I'm going to play the Dutch, because I'm starting to learn the Dutch. You don't have to go with this immediately. There are different ways to do it, you know, with your pawn structure and whatever. What you can't do is knight f6. Okay, so he's already closed in this bishop. I think I can play knight f6 now because this bishop's not coming out. There's not that it's the end of the world if it does. So the general idea is with the classical Dutch is e6, d6. E6 now, or even g6, which would be the Leningrad structure, that would defend this pawn that's under attack. I don't know enough about Dutch theory to say, you know, if they play bishop d3, which is best to do. But let's go. I'm going to go with the classical because that's what I'm trying to learn. So I want some experience in that. Okay, knight f3 comes out. I don't think I want the knight in here, so d6 makes sense. I think it's premature to bring this knight out. Sometimes this knight might want to come to d7. So I think we can do this now. Then bishop e7, castles. Also might fianchetto my light squared bishop, which I'm going to proceed to do now. A little light in my face, it's hurting my eyes just a little bit, I have to say, right? But basically, yeah, if you can get in this fianchetto, so white at higher levels, white will normally fianchetto their own light squared bishop on g2. Okay, so now I can get in e7, short castles. Okay, this is understandable, but kind of why? Now, I know that an idea here is sometimes to throw the knight in. I don't know if it's correct right now. Probably not. I like the fact that my bishop's aiming down at the knight on f3 and the pawn on g2. This knight is backed up by a spare knight. So I think we can now just castle. And here we're just still kind of, you know, moving around the ring and, you know, testing each other, testing the space with little jabs. But nobody's made contact yet. There is a gap between the two sides, still just posturing. But this looks like a very reasonable setup from White's perspective as well. Okay, he's gone straight in with e5. Now, Simon Williams' rule. If you can't meet e4 with e5, which we can't yet. You don't want to take, actually. So if he takes, hang on, I've got three attackers on there. He's got 1, 2, 3 defenders, right? So let's just work this out. Pawn takes pawn. Say knight takes, bishop takes. Equal. My rook hangs, but my knight can move out the way. And I have opened up this. So if we trade everything, all this junk disappears. Excuse me. Right? And his queen's on here. Let's say I play knight here or knight here. Well, I can't play knight there because it gets taken, so knight e7. And I'm not actually threatening, you know, to sack the exchange here because the queen defends that, so. But the other rule is, excuse me, if you can't meet e4 with e5, then you should meet it with f4. Oh dear. It is worth explaining at this point that at that point in the game, I underwent a massive coughing fit, and so I had to abandon the recording. But I've got on top of it with my nebulizer, with some thieves' oil in it, which is very, very healing for the lungs. There's an amazing story about that dating back to the Black Death in France, which I won't bore you with right now. But okay, now, hopefully my microphone's working okay. So I'm going to take you through the rest of the game, but this is now post hoc, after the event. Okay, so I've played it really badly so far. Bottom line is, my opponent's lined up the king and the bishop here, and I've just invited him to open up this diagonal, haven't I? Okay, so I'll take you through the rest of it. So he pushes the pawn forward, hitting the knight. Okay, I takes. Now I have to move my knight, and then it's like, oh, bugger. Right, now it's only +1. There's only 2 legal moves. I have to move my king here or here. King f7 would be mate in 1, so that's not going to happen. Okay, but it's white is only 1.5 pawns in front right now, but this does look really, really ropey. Okay, so I move my king to h8. He moves his rook across. I now decide to try and improve my knight, basically. And, you know, I do have a couple of things in my favour. I'm starting to think, is there any way that I could maybe disconnect the queen from this bishop so I can maybe win the bishop back? We shall see. My pawns are rotten. At least they're defended. You know, this is defended by the king, defended by that. That's now defended by the knight. But I'm starting to think, no, this is I've really, really screwed up this Dutch. But this is really important, and this is why I think we should go through it together as well, and go through the analysis, because there's some good lessons in this. Okay, he now moves his knight over here, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm a pawn down. I'm not like a piece down. Do I take? Maybe queen takes. I don't know. You know, but even then, like bishop takes, knight, queen's still on the third rank, so it doesn't really help. But what if he takes? Then I get to take back with the bishop, and lo and behold, this pawn on f2 is pinned, and I've got some pressure. And so I do take, I take the knight because the queen isn't on the third rank. Okay, so this messes up his pawns. And I'm thinking, yes, I'm down in material, so no, you shouldn't. Ideally, you shouldn't be going out to trade pieces off, but tactically, strategically even, it works. Right? He's now got very much compromised pawns. The queen is now blocked off from here. You know, nothing's defending this. The queen also needs to defend this bishop, by the way. So actually, if I was to take that knight, he'd have to take back the a pawn anyway, wouldn't he? Because otherwise the bishop's lost. Didn't think about that. Lots of things he didn't think about. Okay, I develop my final minor piece, and he takes the knight. I'm quite happy to see this, because after I take, I then realise, hang on, I've got queen h4. Triangulating down on this pawn, which is also pinned, right? But not only that, I'm also targeting the bishop now twice, if he lets me get that move in. My opponent plays queen g6. And this is actually losing, believe it or not, because it doesn't stop me playing queen h4. Queen h4. And not only is the bishop now overwhelmed because it's got 2 attackers and the only defender is the queen, it's also trapped. He can't even escape. So, he retreats the queen. I capture here with the king. I don't know if that's the best move. Yes, it is. It is the best move by half a pawn. Why? Well, because I want to keep the pressure on this pawn, right? There's no reason to retreat the queen when the king can do that job, right? Don't let, you know, the woman do everything. Okay, so rook e4 now, which is slightly odd, because he's kind of attacking this. Well, he's attacking it twice, but it's defended twice. And I decide to lift my rook. Obviously, my idea is rook g5, pinning the queen on the king, and winning material. Okay, so what can he do about that? So here he takes the pawn, right? Preventing rook g5. But I grab the bishop now. I'm up 4 points of material. He now doubles up his rooks because he, you know, I've got 2 attackers on this rook here. Okay, so now he's got 2 defenders. All right. So what do? Rook a comes across to f8. So he now can't take me, because I just take back. I've still got the pressure on here. He lifts his rook, and so I'm also trying to think, how can I involve my knight? My bishop's doing a good job. My rooks are working really well together. My queen is doing a great job. Right? This is all going black's way. So now I lift my other rook with the idea of moving this one to g5. And, same idea as before. Right? Just, it's a great example of using your rooks as a pair. The king now moves out of harm's way. And this is kind of where it gets really, really critical. I'm quite proud of, I think, the way that I finished this off, although we'll have to have a look at it in a minute. Okay, so what are we looking at? I can't take here because my queen hangs. Right? I'm thinking of still of how to use the knight. But what I decide to do in the end is just rook g5 anyway, because that practically forces the queen off into the corner. And now in comes my knight. So I'm harassing this rook. Okay. Now my knight does temporarily block the bishop, right? But if this rook were to move away, move off the second rank, then because the queen's no longer defending f2. So the rook moves here, and now it's just curtains. Okay. But there's a potential kind of forced mate in 6 here, if you find the right move. And I considered a few ideas. In the end, I just went for the very simple queen h3. And actually, white here resigns. And the problem here is that the only legal move is now king e1. But after king e1, I guess I can take there with the knight with check. The machine actually says queen takes f3 is the quickest mate. But yeah, it's absolutely horrible. Here he's going to have to trade queens off, and he's simply down to 2 whole minor pieces. So completely hopeless. Anyway, so I've just copied that PGN. So we've got a 73.9 for me. Interesting. And a 1500 rating, which is below, where I should be playing. But again, this is an opening that I'm trying to learn. But I thought this analysis could be really, really interesting. And particularly, if anyone out there plays the Dutch or plays the London system or the Colley system or anything kind of setup based, or even the Smith-Morrow Gambit, actually, because any of these things where you've got a kind of this is where your pieces normally go, kind of system setup, pay attention to this, because I think this is very useful. Okay, so the Dutch defense. Fair enough. Okay, e3 is fine. Knight f6 is best. Bishop out is great. Okay, now, this is where it gets interesting. I play d6. Now, his bishop is already gunning down this diagonal. Okay, so the computer here actually says that, alternatively, d6 was best. Right? I mean, it's marginal, okay? But d6 also defends the pawn with his bishop. Okay. But I play e6 because I'm thinking I'm playing the classical Dutch, right? Out comes the knight, that's okay. And now d6, and it says, no, you don't want to play d6, you want to play b6 now, right? So what's the point? Well, b6, because my opponent's brought his bishop out this way, it's not coming to g2. So if you're going to fianchetto your light squared bishop, what I'm guessing is, and I don't know this for sure, but what I'm guessing is that the computer's saying you want to get that in as quickly as you can. Right? Your opponent brings his bishop out that way, make sure your pawn is defended, and then fianchetto. Okay? So, note to self. Anyway, I don't do that. Now I play d6, and it goes, no, you don't want to do it like that. Right, c4. And now I play this move it wants me to play. Now it says, no, you don't want to do that. You want to bring your knight out. Well, I didn't want to bring my knight out. So he does this. I fianchetto, again, inaccurate. So, but it's still less than 1 pawn in front for white, okay? He castles. Bishop e7, doesn't like. Says I should have lifted my queen for reasons best known. Okay. And now listen here again, right? I could just play g6 here and just create a wall of pawns, kind of embarrassing these two pieces. It says I should have pushed d5. If d5 though here, I would have very happily played e5. But hey, okay, now I castle, that's fine. And now he pushes, and I was just, as I was coughing my guts up there, I was saying that Simon Williams has got this thing that I've picked up from the course, and this is kind of the problem sometimes of trying to learn things by rote without really understanding them. You know, he was saying that if you can't meet e4 with e5, which I figured I couldn't really, then f4 is very often the best thing, but in this situation it absolutely is not. Why? Because this comes with tempo against the knight, and I've got a barrage against h7. Right? So what should I have done? Computer here actually says knight c6. And if takes, fork them. Didn't even think of that. Never crossed my mind. I was only looking at the pawns, thinking that my rudimentary knowledge of the classical Dutch would help me, and it did not. It actually hindered me. Anyway, so after this I push forwards, not the best. That absolutely is the best, it's +2 now. I should have taken, good. He takes back. Saying my knight could have gone forward, doesn't really make much difference. That's pretty much forced. And now it didn't like this, it said finish developing, okay. And this is all good, right? Mistake, best, blunder. And the rest, as we know, kind of went on from there. But I thought that was fascinating, and I think one of the things is that, you know, I kind of thought, oh, I'm going for this classical Dutch structure, when actually, you know, in actual fact, with a bishop on here, and especially a few moves later, when the queen moved to here, why didn't I apply this second idea with pawn g6 as well, you know? So, you know, the lesson here is don't be so inflexible with system openings that it stops you from responding to what actually happens on the board. So there you go. I thought that was interesting. Definitely a nice comeback as well. You know, noticing my opponent's mistake, even though I felt like I was on the ropes, came back for a nice win in the end, which is something that I'm kind of enjoying doing at the moment in Blitz and in Rapid as well. So there you go. Hope that was useful. Thanks for watching. See you soon.